right, guys. Well, welcome. Hello, Boy Stop Capping. How are you? All right, so I'm going to go ahead and get this recorded so that I can get these audio sessions onto my Spotify. So, again, I decided to use YouTube as my source. I actually had did a tutorial video for another YouTube creator. Let me see if I can get it back to where it was. Let me see. It might have switched my microphone. Can you hear me better? Let me see what's going on. Can you hear that better? Hmm. Let me see. How about that? Is that better? I'm just going to switch microphones. I might need to check my cord for my mic. Let me see. Interesting. I'm gonna have to check that. I was having some issues last time. It might be my cord that's plugging in. Let me see. I'll figure it out later. Thanks for letting me know. All right, so I'm gonna get this going. Hey guys, it's me, Tag. Thank you for tuning in to my podcast, Tag Talks, the Music Industry Part 2. Yesterday, I was talking about my experience with music and how I got started when I lived in Las Vegas and some of the hurdles and challenges of being a part of the music industry in that way. And so I wanted to do a part 2 talking about just some advice for people who are interested into getting their music published and doing it the right way, so that way you're doing it legally. One of the things that I've heard people say early on was to do like a poor man's copyright with your music until you get officially copyrighted. And so I don't know if you've ever heard what that is, but a poor man's copyright is basically when someone, let's say I go to the studio, I record 5 songs, I put them on an external drive or a flash drive or a USB, whatever it might be, and I type out the lyrics, I print the lyrics, and I put it in an envelope and I send it to myself through the mail. And you get the US postage stamped on there, the date and all of that. So you send it to yourself. It's basically showing the date of when you created it. So it's called a poor man's copyright. Now, it does show that you had the music in your hands at the beginning, but it doesn't really show that you wrote it still. So it's really important that people do things the legal way and don't try to take the easy route. But if that's what you have to do until you can get it done the correct way, then by all means do so, because then at least you have some proof that you had that music at this particular date. And so if someone tries to come out like 5 years later releasing that music or saying they wrote it, you'll have that timestamp on it. But I would recommend that it's done the right way. And so the right way would be through using copyright.gov, because that's actually where you go to copyright your music. And so I'm going to show that on here as well. So this will be for anybody that's looking to do any type of copyright. It could also be like spoken word or any of that. But if you go on copyright.gov, you can look at how to register and license your work. And it kind of takes you through the process. So you'll see here, there's like all types of work that you can get published. So literary works, performing arts, visual arts, motion pictures, photographs, all of these different things you can do to make sure your work is protected. So you'll go through the process of setting it up. What I would recommend is to read through it. There are some video tutorials if you've never ever established a copyright before, but I'd recommend going that route because it protects you. And also, if anybody were to say that they wrote this, well, it's legally yours because you've copywritten it. Just make sure that if you're using, I would say this to singers and to rappers or anybody else that is using beats from a producer, please make sure that you have fully purchased the rights to that music. There's a difference between, like, you can go on the internet and find a beat maker and you can license a track. So you can use it. You might be able to use it to sell like 2,500s, whatever, or you may be able to sell as much as you want, but a lot of them have stipulations on it. So you really want to make sure that you've completely bought the rights to all of it so you can use it however you choose. So it's important for you to do that. You can also only copyright the lyrics if, let's say, the music producer has already copywritten the actual music. You can just get the copyrights on your lyrics. So that's another way that you can go about it. So it's just best to take the legal route when it comes to music. And like I said, I would recommend for anybody to look into what they're doing, read. So one of the things that when I first got started, I mentioned in the last live, there was someone that I was working with. His name was Charlton, and he actually sat with me and said, make sure you know your stuff. Make sure you know your business side of everything that you're doing. And so one of the books that he recommended was The Business of Music. And it's probably a little blurry because I had the blur thing on. I should have taken that off because I really don't need my background blurred at all. Let me take it off. All right. So it's called The Business of Music. And this one is by a group of people, John M. Gross, William Krasovsky, I can't say his name, Sidney Shamel, but it's thick. But there's a lot of stuff in here, and they often update the edition. I got this book, oh goodness, it's been quite a few years since I got this one, actually. Let me look to see when it was released. Because this one, well, I bought it probably around 2010 when I got this one, but this was already a 10th edition. So, I don't know. Interesting read for those of you that want to know more about it. It's not the only book. You can find other ones, but that was one that was recommended to me. But it takes you through a lot of the legal issues that you might face when you're trying to do music. And so it'll tell you about contracts, video rights, recording costs, recording funds, different agreements that might be trying to give in, or people might try to give to you. Hey, Jamia, how are you? And so it's just really important to know your stuff. Another thing, and let me get back here. Another thing is, if you are seeking to release anything that is your own music, is to get connected to a PRO. So we call that a performing rights organization. And so you may have heard of ASCAP or BMI. Those are the two popular ones. And there's also CSEC. CSEC is one that usually you have to pay to be a member of. But the most popular ones are BMI and ASCAP. I actually have mine through BMI, but either is okay. But these are the ways that you get paid. So your copyright protects you so that, first of all, you can prove that this is your music. And also, when it comes to like YouTube and all these different things, if your music is being played, you have it copywritten. It's not under someone else's. And so that's important. But having a PRO is equally important, because that's how you get paid. So through BMI, you set up your account and you have to basically get this account number. And anytime someone asks to work with you, they're going to ask you for that number. They're going to ask you, what's your PRO number? And so you don't want to be looking like, I don't know what that is. You want to know what you're talking about or what they're talking about, because a lot of times they're not going to want to work with you anyway, if you are showing that you don't know anything about music terminology, really. And so I'll show this site. This is what I have my account through. So BMI is basically how I can get paid through Apple Music, Spotify, through Amazon Music, through just various platforms. It's the way that I get paid through that. And so it's something to think about. So I'll show this here. So this is the site, bmi.com, and you set up your account, and you can see here it asks you who you are. So the writer, the composer, the publisher of the music. And so you set up your account and you'll have a number. You have to register your songs there. So you'll put in the songs that you have. You'll put in the numbers that you're given from when you upload into a service to get your music on Apple Music or Spotify. And so there's a lot of different layers that people don't realize. Now, another piece of that, so I mentioned you must have a copyright. Now, if you don't have a copyright, that's on you, but you can't ever prove that you are the originator of that music if you don't have it done legally. So you want to have your copyright. A copyright is almost like, you think of a trademark for businesses like the McDonald's symbol or things like that. They have those trademarked. So if anybody uses that, they can get sued. It's the same thing for music. You want to have your copyright. So if somebody tries to steal one of my songs, and let's say a famous celebrity artist starts singing one of my songs, and I hear it on the radio, and I'm like, wait a minute, that's my song, I wrote it. How can I prove it? And that's through the copyright. BMI, again, is how you get paid. Another thing about BMI that I love, and ASCAP probably has this too, but I'm not as familiar with ASCAP because I don't use it. But I know some performers who do use ASCAP as well. But the thing about BMI is that there's BMI Live. So if I go and do a show, so let's say someone invites me to do a show here in Dallas, and I only have to sing like 2 or 3 songs. It's not even a full concert. I can actually go on my BMI account and log that performance. This was the place that it was at, this was the date, and BMI will actually pay me for that. A lot of independent artists are starting to learn about BMI Live. Some don't read on things and they don't know about it, so they might they might get invited to do like a local show, and they may not really get paid for it. But if you go on BMI Live and you log that performance, because you already have your account and you have your music there, as long as it's one of the songs that you have connected to BMI, then you're able to make money from it. So if you're doing, let's say, 100 shows locally in your hometown or whatever city you live in, you can log those performances on BMI Live and actually get a check from BMI, because your music is connected. So copyright, and have a performing rights organization, whether it's BMI or ASCAP or CSIC. Another thing about just the music industry, another thing that I would say is, how do you get your music on Apple Music? How do you get your music on Spotify, on Amazon. So there are various ways to do so, but I'll just tell you about two that I'm familiar with because there's a bunch of others, but I won't speak on them because I've never used them. So one of them is CD Baby. So CD Baby is a way that independent artists can put out their music. It's a creative space for those who don't want to get signed to a label. They want to have control over their own music and how they put it out and all of that. So when you look on CD Baby, you can set up your account, and basically after you've recorded your music in a studio, after you've gotten it mixed and fully mastered where the sound is where it's supposed to be, you can set up an account on CD Baby to distribute your music. So you'll see here it says music distribution, and basically you would just go through whatever steps it's telling you to do through CD Baby. And once you set up your account and you follow the steps, then you'll see it'll connect you to Apple Music, Spotify, YouTube, TikTok, Amazon, and you can click which ones you want your music to go to. You can click which ones you don't want your music to go to. So CD Baby was what I used originally. So if anybody uses any of the songs that I have loaded in CD Baby and I've connected it to my BMI, to my performing rights organization, if anybody uses any of those or songs on a YouTube video, you're going to get a copyright pop up on in your YouTube studio. So just like you guys have experience playing other artists' music, because my artist or my music goes through these platforms, I will actually get that same credit for my work. So if somebody plays one of my songs through YouTube, I get credit for it. If someone plays a song through Spotify, I get credit for it. My songs can be attached to TikTok videos or Instagram videos. So just like you can look up other people's music and add them to your TikTok video or add them to your Instagram reel or YouTube short, it goes the same for my music because I have it set up for those platforms already. And so it's a lot of work. It's not a quick process to do all of that, especially if you want to do it the right way and making sure that your music is protected and that you're able to get it out there. But you don't have to try to get signed to a music label. Now, the thing about it is you can do all of these things, but it's up to you to also promote yourself and do all those things to become whatever it is you want to become. For me, at this point in life, it's really a creative outlet for me. And it's kind of one of those things, if people listen, that's great. I'll put it out there. I'll give you the platform to find it. But I'm not out there trying to be famous. But you can. And we've seen people do it. Tomorrow, I want to talk a little bit about some of the celebrities who have made it the right way in the music industry. One of those people I'll mention just a little bit today. You guys might know of Halle Bailey. She's going to be the Little Mermaid. She's a singer, a part of Chloe and Halle. But the guy that she's dating, DDG, he's a young rapper. I think he's like 25 years old or something like that. He actually started with a YouTube channel, and he had so many subscribers. He kind of did all these pranks and all these different things, but every so often he would throw in music. It was like he was using that to get his music out there. So he would do all these pranks and different things, but then he would throw in some music. So the more subscribers he got, the more he would throw in some music. And so now he's actually doing really well and getting his music out there on his own. I don't know if he's connected now to a label. He might be, but he got there on his own. And so he just used social media. And the thing about it is, anybody desiring to be a part of the music industry, they have that now. Whereas starting off, like when I was younger, technology was just starting to kind of pop off. My generation, we actually saw the beginning of when computers really came out. We had those big old computers, and then when cell phones first came out, like we were part of that generation as as kids. So this generation now, in the 2000s going up, they are used to all of this and they're figuring out how to make it work. The rest of us are having to learn it. And so I thought, let me do a couple of videos just kind of sharing, because every so often I do see that there are some content creators that I'll come across that are singing on their channel, or they're doing things, or interested in music and stuff like that. But I would say learn about it, because you can actually make money on your own and not be signed to a label if you learn the ropes. So earlier I mentioned also a book that was recommended to me called The Business of Music. They update the editions every few years, so they probably have a newer edition than even this one that I have. But it's one that I would recommend because it's a starter book for just learning about the industry. Now, CD Baby was one of the ones that I used initially to get music out, but there is another one, and I will show you guys what that one is. And this is what I've been releasing music through more recently. And this one is called DistroKid. Let me get it on here. So this one is called DistroKid. So it's another way to get your music connected to Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Music, Google Music, all of the different music platforms, Tidal, all of that. This is another way to get it connected through DistroKid. So you set up your account, and a lot of these will walk you through it. They'll have tutorials, they'll have just information, or help centers so you can get help if you don't know how to go about setting all of this up. But it's really important that that part is done. There's a lot more that I could mention as far as getting music out, but I think it would kind of go over heads. But these are like the basics of the music industry that I would recommend to anybody. And so, yeah, that's pretty much it as far as kind of getting music online. So I'll show you, let me show you guys an example, because and then I appreciate those of you who have been popping in and out. I know this is during the workday for a lot of people, but it's just a little difficult for me right now to record during the evening, because I am trying to do better with going to the gym, and I usually go in the evening. So maybe I could figure out something where I go to the gym during the day on the days where I can, and then on those days I can record in the evening or go live in the evening when more people are available to join. But like I said, it doesn't really matter. The main goal is to have audio for my Spotify podcast that I'm trying to work through. And so this is just one of the streams or ways to get it there, because I love that StreamYard, again, allows you to download your audio. And so it's just been a good resource for that. But I want to, let me see if I can find an example so you guys can see where, or kind of how my music is on a platform. So if you look on here, let me show you. So let me see if I could zoom in. So this was the project that I released through CD Baby. This was from 2000, was it 14, 2015? Trying to remember the year. But you'll see it says Talia Arisa Gibson, because that's what I released it under, my full name. And I had, you'll see it says Topic. You'll see that because it's actually being released through an alternate source. So CD Baby actually released it to YouTube, and that's why you see the word Topic. So for me, what I really need to do is move this to my YouTube channel for Tag for Short, because I did make that channel an artist verified channel. So I don't know if it'll show it on here. Let's see if it will. Yeah, there we go. So you'll see right here this little music symbol. So I verified my YouTube channel as an artist channel, official artist channel. So you'll see it there. But if anybody is trying to use any of those songs, let me go back, that I have, any of these songs, they would get a copyright. And you can see it says provided to YouTube by CD Baby. All right, so these were from that project. Also, let me see if I can show you guys the one from DistroKid. So this one I released in 2019, the one from DistroKid. Let's see if I can get that one on here so you guys can see. See if I can get those on here.
Showing up on the first page of...
Here we go. So here you'll see the songs that I have from 2019, and these are the ones that are through DistroKid. So songs like No Drama, Pushover, Talk to Me, The Way You Make Me Feel, You're All I Need, all of those, you'll see that word topic next to them. That means that it was released through a different source. And so these songs were actually released through DistroKid. So that is how that kind of works. I don't want to play here. Somebody has this on an actual playlist as well. So, yeah. So when you see that dash topic, that's what that means. It's been released to YouTube through an alternate source, which in my case, the first company I used was CD Baby. The second one was DistroKid. So you can get your music out there to the world, to people, without being signed to a record label. And that's the greatest message that I can give to those who don't want to go through the music industry. Hey, Sonia, happy Thursday. How are you? So this has been kind of the part 2, just kind of talking about how to get connected with music. And so what I would say is do your research, follow the steps that are taken. So if you go on copyright.gov, look at the tutorials, look at the videos that they offer so you can get your music copywritten and protected. If you use DistroKid or CD Baby to distribute your music to Apple Music or other music platforms, do your research, look at their tutorials, read the instructions on how to do it, follow the directions, all of those different things, because it will help you. And like I mentioned, also make sure you are connected to a performing rights organization. They call it a PRO. So either BMI or ASCAP would be probably the best options for somebody who is an independent artist that is not signed to a label. Even though you'll also notice people who are signed to record labels will be connected to BMI, ASCAP, and any other PRO, because that's how they make their money. And so you'll want to have that information handy. Now there is, and I don't know if I want to get into this one right now, but I will say this, there's another step for radio. There's another step for radio. So I may talk about that in a different Maybe I'll mention that a little bit tomorrow in part 3. But if you're trying to get your music played on radio, you want to make sure you go through all those steps that I mentioned before. So get your music copywritten, sign up to a performing rights organization, BMI or ASCAP. You want to have that. This is how you'll get paid. And then there's another step, and I won't really get into that one because it's a little more daunting, and one that took me a little bit longer to kind of understand. But it's basically the way that your music shows up in the radio world, in the radio system. And I don't know all of the logistics behind it, but it's something that you have to actually create an account, log in, and do in order to make sure that your music shows that it's you when you're playing on radio. So I guess the best example I can give is if you have a car, a more updated car that has where you have like a screen in your car, and or even just where you're playing the radio, you'll see the person's name pops up. It'll say Chris Brown and it'll say his song. That has to be set up in order for that to happen. And a lot of radio hosts and producers and engineers, they get mad at independent artists who don't know to label their music. And it's not labeling with a pen. You have to actually go register and get that music labeled so that when they play your songs, it pops up. It'll show Tag and the name of the song, or it'll show Beyonce and the name of the song. So you notice in your car, next time you get in your car, look, when you're playing music on radio, whether it be local radio or Sirius XM, you'll notice it'll say the artist name and the song that they're singing. And that is something you have to set up as an independent artist. So you actually have to create an account, put your songs in there, and set it up so that that can happen. So that radio, if you ever have a chance of getting a song on radio, it will work. I will say it's important because you just never know what opportunities you will get. A couple years ago, right before COVID, I think it was 2019, there's a known local TV station. It's Channel 8 here. And everybody watches it. Everybody loves the broadcasters. Everybody loves the host of Channel 8 News. And so it's really popular news channel. There was the radio DJ, actually. I'm trying to remember all the details. There was a DJ that they had on the show. And so during certain parts of the show, they would let him play music. And this was a little segment that they had started to do. And this was, like I said, right before COVID. So he started looking up people on Instagram, looking up people on YouTube, looking up people on all social media. He was actually out there himself hunting for independent artists that he could play on that show. And 2 of my friends' songs got selected, and your music had to be labeled so that when they played your music, your name could show across the screen. They could show the song. Like, it had to be available through like Apple Music and things like that. So I tell people, like, if you are interested in music, you still have to make sure, I was about to say, you still have to make sure that you set it up properly, because you never know what opportunities you will get. So after my 2 friends got asked, I guess because he noticed their social media, he noticed mine. And so I sent him a song, and he was like, I'm going to put this on this particular day at this time. I'm going to play your song. So then one of my songs got played on Channel 8 News, and I started getting text messages from coworkers saying, was that you? Was that your song? Because like I said, a lot of people watch it, like they're getting ready for work and things like that. So it was just a good opportunity, a good moment for me. But I was just thinking about, I would not have gotten that moment if I would not have put my music on Apple Music, put my music so it's available. If I hadn't made sure that I learned how to label my music properly, Like, I never would have been able to say yes to that opportunity. And there were artists that I was actually telling, I was telling them, submit your music to him because he's looking for people to play. And a couple of people could not, because also you had to own your music. And there are people that want to be singers. There's people that want to be hip hop artists, and they're very good, but they keep buying music from people online and they're not making sure that they fully own it. So when an opportunity comes where you have to own your music, they can't take those opportunities because they don't own anything. And it's unfortunate to miss out on something so good because you don't own your stuff. And so it's possible to make it. There's people who make a living who are not signed. There are people who are making a living in music that you don't even hear on the radio. You may not know who they are, but I guarantee people that go to the festivals know who they are. And it's interesting. There's people who are not even on radio, who never get radio play, but they're making a living off music because they're finding a way to do it. Right? So one of the things I always tell myself is I didn't have the passion enough to want to be a singer. And I said this in yesterday's live. Deep down, I never really wanted to be a stage singer, performer. Now, don't get me wrong. I enjoy it. Whenever it's songs that I've written, I enjoy it. But it's not something that I wanted to chase, to be this star. It's not something that I just felt the drive to do. And there are people who are meant to be seen. They're meant to be on stage. And for me, it could be in other ways that I'm doing my music. Like being able to help people with the business side of it is one of those ways. Because I'll tell, like, there's this one friend, he has a good voice and he's young. He has a good soulful voice. And I'm always asking him, have you done this? Have you done that? And sometimes he'll make excuses to get off the phone with me because he knows he hasn't done it. But the thing is, I'm asking because, first of all, you have talent and you keep saying you want to sing for a living, but then you're not taking care of business, or you're doing things that aren't going to get you there, or you keep doing the same thing over and over, expecting a different result, and it's not happening for you. And so I just want to see people win at whatever it is they want to do. And there is a way. You don't have to sign to a major label. You can get your music out there. Like I mentioned, DDG, Halle Bailey's boyfriend, he did it. He made those moves. Who else could I mention? Well, I don't want to mention more because I'll mention them tomorrow. But there are celebrities who you might think are signed to major labels, and they're not. They're not at all. You might think they are, and they're not, but you might think they are because you see them all over social media, or you hear their music on TikTok or whatever it might be, and they're making money because they're controlling it. Whereas a lot of the ones who are signed, it takes them a little bit longer to make that kind of money because they have to pay so many people. They have to pay the label. They have to pay whatever the label has paid for. They have to pay that back. So there are people that are out here doing it. You just got to learn the ropes. So music is, like I said, a big part of my life. I have a lot of friends, not only here in Dallas, but just even when I lived in Vegas, and people that I know that are in the industry or have been in the industry or tried to go through the industry. I know people who have produced music for names that you guys would know. I've been able to sit in rooms with people with names that you guys would know. And so, but you kind of just, for me, I've always been one of those that like to soak in the knowledge. And the thing about it, sitting in a room with people that you guys may know, like known artists or people who have been in the industry for so many years, and they've really risen to a level of fame being able to sit in some of those rooms, the one thing that I would say is always listen, because a lot of times people want to run up to celebrities. Let's say you get invited to an industry party and you see celebrities there. A lot of people want to run up to them and promote themselves, and they're not gonna, almost 100% of the time, maybe a few people, but almost 100% of the time, they're not going to go back and look you up or go back and listen to your music. A lot of people take business cards these days and throw them away, or they sit them somewhere and never look at them again. So I would say the best thing to do is when you're in a room, or if you get invited to an event with those kinds of people, is listen. Listen to what they're talking about. Listening to some of the things that they're doing, or even just asking for advice. A lot of times, young people want to run up to celebrities and give them their music. Hey, can you listen to my music? But why not ask for advice about something? Because they might just be able to tell you, this is where you should go to do this. That might be more helpful for you than for them to go listen to your music. Because some of these artists can't get you signed unless they own the label themselves. They can't get you signed. And so those are things that people need to think about when they're trying to pursue music. But yeah, I hope this is helpful to anybody who listens, as far as who's interested in the music industry, or I hope it's interesting to those who don't want to be in the industry but just are curious about how it all works. But there's a lot of layers, and people think it's so simple. They'll be like, oh, you have your music on iTunes, but they don't know like all the little things you had to do to get it on there, or the paperwork you had to fill in online to get it on there. And some people don't do that because they don't want to go through all those steps, because it can be a lot. But yeah, that's pretty much it for today's episode of Tag Talks, the Music Industry Part 2. Like I said, I am downloading these audio clips, and they will be put up on Spotify. I feel like I keep saying that, but I want to keep saying that because I want people to understand like what I'm really trying to do is to get better at podcasting, and to just kind of see where I want my niche to be when it comes to that. And also the things that I'm doing just kind of outside of just mukbangs and stuff like that. And so I think also it just kind of helps people get to know me. Because y'all, I have not been wanting to record mukbang videos. I have not. And I'm going to try to like force myself to do them whenever I feel like it's a meal that I really just want to put on camera. Because I don't know, I feel like I've done so much of all of the other stuff that it's like I don't want to do any of that. So I think if I do any mukbang videos, it'll be something maybe like cooking, because I really enjoy doing the fine dine challenge and cooking on camera. So I may actually do more of that, because I do like to cook. And then also, if I do mukbangs, maybe it'll be more so just like foods that are a little bit different. Like if I cook a specific recipe and I want to share it because it might be an interesting meal or whatever it might be. But yeah, because otherwise y'all would just see me eating like crab legs and tacos, because I love crab legs, and I don't want to just do the same videos all the time when it comes to mukbangs. And like I keep saying as well, I'm trying to do better health-wise. I'm trying to do better, eating better, trying not to eat so much of the crazy stuff. And yeah, and to do so, I got to find a way to do other things. And yeah, so that's pretty much it for this one. I appreciate those of you who were able to pop in and out. This will be on my channel. And yeah, let me see here before I go, because I wanted to share something. I'm really disappointed because I need to figure out what's going on with my mic, because this is an expensive mic, and I think it's the cord, because I have so much going on, because I have two screens. I have my laptop, and then I have external monitor so that I can have 2 monitors going. But I have lighting over here, and then I have plugs. So I'm thinking something might just be twisted up. I'm hoping that it's just that, because I don't yeah. So let me show y'all before I go. If I can get it on here. So on Spotify, some people were asking, how else can you listen to my music? On Spotify, this is what it looks like. It's this cover with the blue letters, Tag, and it says Learning Love, and it's just TAG. And that is how you will find my music on Spotify. It's the same thing on like Apple Music or Amazon. I always prefer for people to go to Amazon, because then they can actually buy it, or Apple Music, the Apple Store, because then you can actually buy it instead of streaming it. That's something else I should probably talk about tomorrow, is the ridiculous money that they actually pay people for streams, and how much it would make to actually even make just $100 from streams, because they pay so little, not even a cent for a stream. It's crazy. So, but anyway, guys, I appreciate you for tuning in. There was something else I wanted to show you guys, but I don't think I'm going to be able to show it right now. So I will say this is definitely a work in progress. Just getting all this flowing. Shout out to Boy Stop Capping for telling me about the audio when I first logged in on the live, because the volume was low. So I had to figure that out, because it shouldn't be low, because I have the volume up just like I did when I was doing like my Wind Down Wednesdays. I haven't changed any of the settings, but for some reason it hasn't been wanting to work. But I feel like when stuff wants to not work, you really need to do it even more, because stuff will try to challenge you to see if you'll give up. And I'm not going to give up. I'm going to get all of this set up right. And if I have to get more equipment to make it work, because I was trying to avoid getting the actual soundboard that podcasters often have, but I may have to go ahead and do it. They have digital ones, but I don't know if I want to go that route. I might just need to get a physical one so I can run audio through the mic, run sound, music, so I can play the music I want to play and run it properly. So, because a lot of people on their lives, they're playing music, but it's just coming through the microphone that you have on your computer or your phone. But because I'm using an external mic, I need another way to route the sound so you guys could actually hear it. And that's a whole lot of technical stuff, but I'll figure it out. That's one thing I will face a challenge. So thank you guys for jumping in. I appreciate all of you. I've said this several times, trying to end this live, but then I was looking at the time and thinking, let me stay on here a few minutes longer. So then now I'm just rambling, trying to stay on here a few minutes longer. But I hope you guys have a good rest of the day. I do have a meeting this evening with my friends Ari, Garsha, and Nick for our channel Artificial Conversations. And so if you aren't subscribed to that channel, please subscribe. I'll have it in the description box so you guys can subscribe. But we are going to be doing more of a live podcast style where you'll see all of us. Yeah, and we'll have topics, we'll have guests and things like that. So we went to go visit a space, and that space may not work as good as we wanted it to. So we're actually going to meet all 4 of us this evening at another space to see if that will work for what we're trying to do. So say a prayer for us for that, because I'm really excited about that, because it's so much more fun when you do YouTube with other people. So I'm really excited about having other people on the show with me to do it with them. So yeah, that's about it. I'm laughing at myself because I'm like stalling, but I'm going to go ahead and end this live. I appreciate you all so much. Have a good evening. And until next time, as always, don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe, and hit that bell notification so you'll know when I post. Until next time, bye.